From lacking clear direction to forgetting what the audience wants. Here's why critics are hating the latest Marvel movies. It's time to stop tiptoeing around and admit that some of the MCU Phase 4 movies are, well, not so great. Hear me out. The MCU has been going strong for almost 15 years now, and it's attracted a huge fan base. These are people who would defend their favorite superhero with their lives. But let's be real, not every movie is a masterpiece, and some of the more recent ones have been a bit of a letdown.
I don't know what cinema is for you.
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Now, before you start sharpening your pitchforks, let me explain why it's important to allow criticism. First of all, it's essential for growth. Constructive criticism helps filmmakers identify their weaknesses and improve upon them. If all we ever do is praise the MCU, how will they know what they need to work on? And let's not forget that everyone has different tastes. Just because I don't like a particular movie doesn't mean that you won't love it. We should be able to have a conversation about the good and the bad without resorting to name-calling or online battles. So let's all take a deep breath and admit that not every MCU Phase 4 movie is a masterpiece. And that's okay. Let's allow for honest conversations about what works, what doesn't, and who knows, maybe we'll see some improvements in future movies. MCU Phase 4 has been a bit of a roller coaster ride. Some of the projects have been fantastic, while others have been less than impressive. Instead of actually addressing Phase 4's shortcomings, some folks are out here pretending like everything's sunshine and rainbows. Bad CGI? What are you talking about? That's just your eyes playing tricks on you. Or lackluster storytelling? That's just your opinion, man. You clearly don't understand the subtleties of the plot. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been incredibly successful in the past and made lots of money over the years. However, many people have noticed that the franchise is not doing as well as it used to. There are a few reasons for this. Some people think that the movies and TV shows in the MCU are not as exciting as they used to be. Others say they feel like they've seen everything before and aren't surprised by the storylines anymore. Secondly, some people feel like the MCU is lacking a clear direction. It can be confusing to keep track of all the different characters and their storylines. Some fans are worried that the movies and TV shows are becoming too complicated and hard to follow. Others think that the characters in the MCU are starting to feel a bit boring, that the characters are not as interesting as they used to be, and that the actors are not giving their best performances. Finally, some fans believe that the MCU is focusing too much on pleasing fans and not enough on telling a good story. They think that the movies and shows are becoming more about pleasing fans with fan service and references to the comics, rather than telling a good story that will surprise and excite viewers. But here's the thing, most of the movies still get great reviews and are loved by audiences. Sure, some of the most recent Phase 4 movies haven't been as well received as their predecessors, but that doesn't mean people are suddenly hating on the entire franchise. Just look at Shang-Chi and Spiderman No Way Home. Both were big hits and loved by fans and critics alike. Since the first movie came out in 2008, there have been 29 movies, and more are on the way. People really love these movies and TV shows, and they've helped Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, become really popular. In fact, Marvel's so important to Disney that they recently announced 10 new movies that are coming out in the next few years, including 2 Avengers movies in 2025. Even though some of the movies have been heavily criticized, some of them have gone on to be huge hits at the box office. For example, Thor: Love and Thunder, which came out in 2022, is one of the top-grossing movies of the year so far. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is also doing really well at the box office. But the biggest Marvel movie of all time is Avengers Endgame, which made an incredible $2.8 billion. That's a lot of money. In fact, 4 of the top 10's highest-grossing movies ever are Marvel movies. So we know there used to be an audience for the movies. So what happened? Don't even get me started on The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor: The Dark World. They were all about as well received as a root canal. So, if people are criticizing MCU movies, it's likely because there are actual issues with them. Maybe the CGI is wonky, or the story is just plain boring. Fans just want the characters to have more interesting storylines, or want the action scenes to be more exciting. Critics think fans want to see more diversity in the characters and the people who make the movies. Whatever it is they do, Marvel should speak up or at least do more audience research and let the people who make the movies know what fans want to see more of. And let's not forget the dry stories, bad visual effects, and poor character handling that made them such a snooze fest. But here's the thing, if we can criticize those movies, why can't we criticize the more recent ones? It's not like bad movies have hindered the MCU in the past. Speaking of bad movies, let's talk about Eternals. Before it came out, everyone was hyped up about how it was going to be the next big thing for the MCU. The all-star cast, the real locations, and the Academy Award-winning director Chloe Zhao had everyone thinking it was going to be a game changer. And then, crickets. Let's just say that Eternals didn't exactly live up to the hype. It was so bad that it became the first MCU movie to be certified rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. Yikes! But here's the thing. Just because we didn't like Eternals doesn't mean we hate the MCU or anything like that. It just means that it didn't live up to our expectations, and that's okay. It's not a personal attack on the franchise or its fans. It's just a way to help it improve and do better in the future. It's no secret that Eternals got panned by critics, and unfortunately, it looks like that trend has continued throughout Phase 4 of the MCU. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder have both been heavily criticized for things like their storylines and visual effects. And we all know that Love and Thunder had a reception that was more mixed than a bag of Skittles. So what's going on here? One theory is that these movies are being hyped up so much that it's hard for them to live up to the expectations. It's like when you're promised the world and all you get is a cupcake. And let's not forget that these movies aren't exactly terrible. They're just not up to par with some of the more established movies in the MCU. But even with that being said, it's okay to criticize them. We're not hating on the entire franchise, we're just pointing out the flaws. But here's the thing, with how big the MCU has gotten and how many successful movies they've had, it's no surprise that people are defensive when it comes to the movies that aren't hitting the mark. But just because people are defensive doesn't mean the criticisms are unfounded. So, from lacking clear direction to forgetting what the audience wants, that's why critics are hating the latest Marvel movies.